Welcome to Mountaineer Football Tonight, the weekly coaches show for Kings Mountain High School, brought to you by KMHS Sports and the Kings Mountain Touchdown Club.
Good evening, Mountaineer fans. Welcome to Mountaineer Coaches. I can't even talk. Mountaineer Football Tonight, live here in Studio One in the Bill Bates Fieldhouse. Got Coach Herron with me. We'll get him on in just a minute, talking about the big win last week versus Ashbrook. I know a lot of people want to watch this show. Coach, I got to talk to some fans last week going out of the game, so they've been looking forward to this show because of what we saw last week. So we got some questions for you. Go there. What we'll do is, like we've been doing the last few weeks, after a sponsor break, we will go to a highlight video put together for us by our one and only supporter, Jeff Johnson. So sit back, relax, look at our sponsors, and then watch our highlight video. We'll be back with Coach Herron in just a few minutes.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by HB Jones Appraisals, John Gamble and Carolina Golf, the Kings Mountain Family YMCA, Harris Funeral Home, Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by HB Jones Appraisals, John Gamble and Carolina Golf, the Kings Mountain Family YMCA, Harris Funeral Home,
Fans, here with Coach Herron. Coach Herron, good to see you. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Coach Herron did not bring us a steak, by the way. He just had steak and baked potatoes, and he bragged about it when he walked in. I'm a little upset about that.
Yeah. So throw a plug out to the Touchdown Club.
That's right. And Touchdown Club.
Keith and all the guys up there, they just fed the whole team steak and potatoes, and they were excited and extremely full when they got done.
Isn't it great, small town football?
Yes, it is.
I'm telling you, it's amazing. We've got such great fans. I'm telling you, good support.
No doubt.
So, Coach, we're going to talk about the game. Obviously, you know, I told you, I said going into the break, it was funny because several fans last Thursday night when I was leaving were like, I can't wait to the show next week. Not because they were upset about how we played at all. There were no complaints about you, the team, the win.
Right.
It's just what we saw. Mm-hmm. And there was there was aggravation in the stands. Not as aggravated as you guys were, but there was aggravation. And so we want to talk about that. But I'll do like I've done every week. I want to talk about, we'll do each side of the ball. Offensively, I thought we did well considering the fact that we had, I wrote on here, a patchwork OL. That's not taking anything away from those guys. Mm-mm. What I'm saying is you literally had guys out of position and had some kids coming back off of an injury, I think. I thought they did well. The defensive line for Ashbrook, to me, old coach's eyes up in the stands, was the biggest and most physical one we've seen so far. Yep. Athletic. I still thought, despite those two things, those two obstacles, we ran the ball well, I thought. I thought Zolo connected on some big-time passes when he needed to. He executed and managed the game very well. I think the only blemish was maybe one INT that we had on that last real drive. Yeah. But other than that, I thought we did well. So I'm going to let you talk about some of those things before we go to the defensive side. Yeah,
and you've named them all. Everything that I was going to talk about, you've named it. The offensive line, Alex Jackson, I think he's one of the best pulling guards that I've seen while I've been coaching, and we had to move him to center. Mm-hmm. So that takes a whole component out of your running game, and not that the other guys couldn't do it, but it's just not as effective as when Alex does it. So we had to move him to center, and that kind of changes things. And of course, we had a freshman at guard again who did a good job. I think the game was good for him because it wasn't like the week before. He was manned up against some players.
54 was a man.
They can go, and so what you were saying is completely true. I think Ashbrook's defensive front was as good as anybody we've seen so far, and so that was a huge challenge for him. And we had some guys who stepped up, and we got the job done. It wasn't quite as pretty as what we've been doing up to this point, but for guys that's had to, it's like say when the guy gets hurt, it's next man up, and we put the next guy in, and they did what they needed to do in order to get us a win. Yeah. So, we struggled a little bit running the ball a little more than usual, but like I said, I think Ashbrook's front had something to do with that, and then it's just a matter of moving pieces. So,
and I want to come back to that too, Coach, about something that I observed, and it's just my observation, and I'm going to come back to that in a minute, and I want to see what you think about what I saw, because I'm no guru, but it's something that I think about rhythm. Defensively, another solid performance. Again, the OL was as big as their DL. A lot of them were going both ways. That tackle, good-looking kid. My gosh, he looked good. I mean, a really good player. I thought they blocked well at times, opened up some holes. 10 was a problem when he got loose. But I think that we contained any little bit of momentum. It looked to me like the momentum that they might have gained, we were able to squelch it pretty quick.
Right.
Because they might have got us on a play, but then we came back. And, that's what I always say. It's a game of averages anyway. They're going to win some plays. We're going to win some plays.
That's the way it works.
And I thought that we responded very well, especially when they had success on the ground. But one of the things you talked about last week, you were a little concerned about the screen packages they had.
Right.
We snuffed all that out.
Yep, we did a great job.
And the final thing I want to point out, the old defensive line coach in me, I know you saw it on film. There were several times they were pulling both backside linemen, and our guys were right down the line with them.
Right.
That gap control like they're supposed to do, they were right on the line. Their feet were moving. They were trailing right behind them and went right to the play.
Right, and that was our game plan. That was part of the game plan. We knew that they pulled guys and they didn't block back. They couldn't block back on an end, and or they didn't use an H back to seal the backside. So we coached our guys up just on how to, what we call getting the hip pocket. So if a guy pulls, you just get in the hip pocket and run. And if, as long as you will stay flat down the line, you can get there. If you run upfield any, you won't get there. And that's what they were hoping for, I imagine. And but our guys did a good job. We missed it a couple times. There's a couple times Eli had a chance to make a tackle, and because he got too far upfield, he couldn't get there. But most of the time, they did a good job with it.
If they don't understand, like 1 or 2 steps vertically,
that's right,
creates a running lane.
That's right.
But 1 or 2 steps, 3, 4, whatever, horizontally down the line,
yep,
in that hip pocket will take you to the play. Because they're
right,
going, I tell them, those OL are telling you 100% of the time where the play's going.
Right, most of the time. Most
yeah,
of the time. And today in the RPO world, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
But for the most part, yes.
But I did notice a couple of times where they squeezed right down that line. There was one play when they were coming toward the scoreboard,
yep,
and we went off of our right side. Man, they both were like were down, and man, it was great. It was beautiful.
Yep.
It was a thing of beauty.
Yes, and
see, I get excited over stuff like that.
Me too.
People
too.
get excited about the big runs and the big passes or the big hits, and that's all good. But technique football, really excites me because when you see that, you know that they get it,
right,
and they're doing exactly what they were taught to do.
Well, I was watching it a little bit again today, just kind of watching us and looking for things, and I think it was like the 3rd play from scrimmage for them. There's a great play where our DL hits their DL, and it's our end hits their tackle, our defensive tackle hits their guard, and they're both in their gap, and they're hitting them. And they're moving the pile backwards. The line of scrimmage is going, that's what we want to do. We want to reset the line of scrimmage a yard deep. And so they're both doing that. The nose didn't do quite as good a job, but our backside end was even doing it. Where when we first got here, and this is not saying anything about anybody, but when we first got here, that wasn't what they were being. That's not what they were doing. They were trying to swim a block, trying to rip through a block, or just trying to run through the gap as fast as they could.
Right.
And so that when you talk about technique football, that is where I think we have gotten so much better up front. It's hard to run the ball on a team that has strengths that we have who can play technique football.
Yes.
It's hard to run the ball.
It's like when you're telling that DL about gap control, they own, that's their mortgage.
That's right.
That's where they live. They pay rent there.
Yep.
And they have to take it personal that's where they live, that's where they stay, because I'd always teach them, your job is to free up the linebackers so they can flow. And I tell them, you're going to get some tackles. You're going to make plays if you will do your job.
That's right.
And that's the whole point. But I'm telling you, I could sit here the whole coaching show and talk to you about defensive line play. I mean, I love it. And it's a thing of beauty when it's executed well. And the other thing that I think plays well to us is we are strong, we are physical, but we're quick.
Yep.
And the speed we have up front with those DL, that causes problems too.
That's right.
They move their feet very well. So I know the people are tired of me talking about DL.
I take speed. I'll take speed first before anything else. Any day of the week.
It's deadly.
Yes, I agree.
Special teams I thought did well. The kickoff coverage team, I'm not going to say they didn't do as great. I mean, they had some weapons back there, and they were even moving some guys around to get the balls to them.
Right.
I thought we did well there. Punt and PAT were okay. We did what we had to do, and even if they had a little bit of success, like I said, with the offensive side, I think we responded well to stopping them.
with all the frustration that came with the game, that was a little bit on the outside. That was a whole nother thing. There was a lot of frustration. I thought our guys handled it pretty well. I think really more of the sideline and the just the, I guess it was anger or just the frustration of the whole man. Every time there was a play, there's a flag on the ground. After a while, you can't get in a rhythm, and the guys get upset, and I get upset, and the coaches are upset, and then the next thing you know, the whole sideline is in shambles. And we kind of got to that point a couple of times, and so I was pleased with the way that our guys stepped up.
Yeah.
And they didn't crumble. They just stayed together and got it done.
Yeah. And that was going to be the thing I told you I was going to come back to. I'm by no means going to bash officials. I'm not going to do that. I did think, however, that, and this is not a bash, but I think by the way they called the game, it did not allow you to establish a rhythm.
Right.
And when you're running tempo, like there was one time when we drove down and scored on the scoreboard in the final touchdown that we scored, even I was in the stands. I was going tempo, right. Because I knew that's what you wanted to do. And it got me because it seemed like every single time we felt like something was flowing, like you said, a rag was on the field, flag, excuse me. And it also looked to me oftentimes like they didn't really even have a good explanation as to why they did it.
No.
And I heard you, and I will say that's the first time in all the games I've actually heard, but I heard you. I actually heard what you said. And I was good. No, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. But I heard you say something to the effect that we've played 8 games so far, and we've had more holding calls tonight than all of them combined.
And that's the truth.
And to me, I've always said, as an official, you're there to assist in the game. You should not dictate the pace or the flow. And they were dictating the pace and the flow. And that's what bothers me.
Yep. Yeah, and that drive that you're talking about, that's the only drive of the game where we really got into a rhythm, and we did what we do and marched down the field and scored. Yeah. But there were several things, and again, I'm not going. The officials have got a tough job,
they do.
and we need more officials. And so I would never want an official to feel like I'm attacking him, and because I want him to be out there. We got to have them.
Sure.
And so, but at the same time, there's things that officials can do to help themselves that help everybody else, and part of that, honestly, is just listen. If you'll just listen. And so, like we had an incident where one of their players made a play right there in front of our sideline. He stands up. I think it was a 4th down, and they turned the ball over to us. After the play, he stands up, and he's 5 yards from the sideline, and he's taunting our sideline.
Yes.
Well, he stands there and does it for a minute. I walked up to kind of just say, hey, man, good job. Go ahead, go. By the time I could get to him, one of our players, the offensive huddle, was getting together. One of our players obviously said something. Mm-hmm. It couldn't have been too bad because I was standing right there. The official throws the flag on us. Yes. And I'm like, look, man, so that's why I was telling the officials, like, man, if you do your job and if you'd have thrown the flag on their guy, none of this would have happened. But it ends up it hurts us. And so those kind of things really irritate you as a coach.
They do. And the players, the coaches were aggravated, the players were aggravated. And the thing that I saw, because I've been there, and you've been in games like that where that kind of stuff happens, and they're not aggravated necessarily at one another.
No.
You're not aggravated at players aren't aggravated at you, the players aren't aggravated too much at each other. They're aggravated at the situation because they can't do what they need to do because they feel like every time they take a step forward or knock 3 steps back.
Right, but we have to be more composed than that. We've got to, because we're going to be in one of those games coming up in a couple of days, and so everything's not going to be easy. It's not going to be you call a running play and you're going to get 8 yards, and call another running play, you're going to get 8 yards. I mean, it's just not going to happen that way. It's going to be a tough, hard-fought game. So that's what we've been talking to our players about, is that we have to keep our composure and play within ourselves and know that everything's not going to be perfect in the way we want it to be. We got to keep our composure and keep our stay under control, and I've got to be the leader of that. Which once I got frustrated the other night, I wasn't that guy, and we talked about that as a team. I apologized to the team and told them, hey man, we got to do better. So we all got to do better.
Well, there's 2 things I'll say. It's something I've told you in here before, and I mean you've got way more clout than I do as a coach, but I'm saying I would always tell my team, and I've said it to you, how are you going to respond to adversity, because it's coming.
It's coming.
And so you've got to know how you're going to react when adversity comes. So I love what you're saying.
Well, I've been preaching that to them for the last couple of weeks. I told them, I said, man, what I'm worried about with this team, well, it was before the South Point game. So what I'm worried about with our team right now is, what are we going to do when really bad adversity hits? What are we going to do? Because I'm not sure, I haven't seen anything to know what our response is going to be.
Right.
And so far, the little things we've done okay.
Yeah.
Not great. Some things we have done great. We responded after the week of the South Point game. The week before that, we had a real rough time with penalties and so forth. We came back to the South Point game, played a really good game, and it cleaned up. Everything cleaned up. We just gotta stay on that pace. We gotta take care. It goes back to my saying, man. What I want to do is, don't let anything get you angry. Don't let anything bother you that you can't control.
Right.
So you got to control what you can control.
You do.
And we can control those types of things. We can't control the officials, and we can't control bad plays or what our opponent's doing, but we can control how we respond to all that.
I agree. And football's such an emotional game anyway.
Yeah.
It is the most emotional game. You're invested so much into it.
There's nothing like it.
And that's why it's so great, Coach. I
That's
love
right.
it. But I will tell you, I appreciate you say that you apologize.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm going to tell you this. I can tell you from sitting in the stands, because we didn't get to broadcast, obviously, because of the policy that Gaston County has. The fans are behind your staff and you and the team anyway. But when you had your words with the official, and then you had a meeting with them on the field, the fans were behind you.
Yeah.
And they knew, because they understood, and I mean, I did too, you're not out there complaining, you're not trying to get a flag thrown to the point where you're showing yourself, you're fighting for your guys.
That's it.
You're fighting for your staff, you're fighting for, them to call the game the way it should be called. You're not jockeying for a call.
No.
You're just asking them to do their job.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's like Sunday night. Now, don't laugh, but I'm a Dolphins fan. And I'd still like to figure out how the Eagles had 0 penalties in that game Sunday night. None. 0.
Hard to do. And
Miami had 10. And they were critical penalties at times. And again, I don't have a problem with them losing. I don't have a problem with penalties being thrown. I have a problem when it's kind of lopsided. And you're telling me Ashbrook primarily ran the ball Thursday night. You're telling me in all those runs, there's no holding penalties.
Right.
Okay. Then why are we having so many? That's the thing that I have issues with.
And there's more to the story. I'm not going to go into it.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
I was about to say something. I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
All right.
But anyway, it was a good win. We got what we needed to. I knew they were going to play us tough, because they're still jockeying for playoff position too.
Definitely.
And it was senior night for them, and they're a big and physical team. That team, as I told you last week, is scary because they're big and physical and fast. And the other thing that I'd say with the officiating, again, not bashing them, but with the calls, when you have a team that's just good enough and you give them life and they hang around, that's dangerous.
Yeah,
Look at there.
I've got it written down.
See, we don't just love Diet Sundrop together, Coach.
Yeah, that's right.
Like always, 3 takeaways. What you got?
Well, that was the first one. The first takeaway is that penalties can kill you in more ways than one. So they can hurt drives. They can get you behind. They can get you in a frustrating state of mind. And so you gotta eliminate them. Yeah. That's the best thing to do. If you eliminate them, you don't have to worry about them. But the penalties the other night, they can kill you, and so we've got to play smarter for the ones that were legit. We got to do a better job with it, And so
can I ask you real quick? Were they calling chop block?
They called a chop block one time. See, I don't know if I can respond, but
well, I just want to know what they were saying. I'm not saying.
Well, they called a chop block, and so when I asked for the number, they gave me 2 numbers. Yeah. So so obviously
call it high-low,
that
right?
would be a high-low block.
Yeah.
I thought I've got the video, and so I went and watched it, and one of the guys that they called as the high-low guy was actually pulling to the other side. And there was 2 guys never touched the dude. So. Again, I don't want to say too much.
I was only asking that because I thought that's the call I saw.
Yeah.
But I'm like you, because I'm an old offensive line, defensive line coach, that's what I watch.
Right.
I watch the front. I know that sounds boring to those people.
I always watch the guards.
And I didn't see that.
Yeah, we had it called one time, and seriously, our center our center cut block, which is legal. As soon as the ball is snapped, if you go straight to the ground, it's legal. And he did that. Our guard was pulling to the other side, and
yeah, okay.
I don't know.
Sorry, I chased that rabbit. Go ahead.
That's okay.
Second takeaway.
And let me put on my glasses because I'm getting old. Never underestimate your opponent, and I've talked to our guys about this over and over and over again. Said, y'all, you know, when you go in, if you want to be an elite team, you want to be better than great, which is what we want to do. You don't worry about you shouldn't be worrying about your opponent. You should walk into a game and you should execute and play the way you've been coached to do, and everything that you do at practice, it ought to just flow right out there on the field. So it doesn't matter if you're playing a good team or if you're playing a not so good team, it ought to look the same. And so we didn't exactly do that. So I think part of it was, you know, when you're playing a team with what was their record, 4-6. You're playing teams 4-6. Hey, we don't have to play as good as we normally do. Well, it doesn't matter. They shouldn't even be thinking like that. So never underestimate your opponent. Play the game the way you want to play it against anybody you play against, including the best.
Yes.
So that would be 2. And then the third takeaway I got from that game is winning game starts up front. So just like what we talked about. Up front, they were, like we said, they were a good football team. They did a good job. They came off the ball, but if you go back and watch the film, we knocked them off the ball more than they knocked us off the ball, and that's a win. Yeah. So, and I watched the front most of the time when I'm watching film. My eyes are on the guards. That's what I do as a defensive coach, and then now as an offense coach, either one. My eyes are on the guards, and I'm watching what goes on in that box first. And if you can win the box, most of the time you got a good chance to win the game.
I agree.
That's huge.
I agree. Love it. So now you know me and Coach watch the offensive defensive line, right, so man. You should too, because I'm telling you that's where it all starts.
You put your eyes on the guards; they'll tell you everything.
Everything. So big win over Ashbrook, another conference win. We appreciate that. We're going to go to a sponsor break and come back and talk about the matchup with Crest. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. Hang on.
Mountaineer football tonight is sponsored by HB Jones Appraisals, John Gamble and Carolina Golf, the Kings Mountain Family YMCA, Harris Funeral Home,
welcome back. We're going to talk to Coach now about the Crest game. I don't need to talk about or remind anybody about what's at stake. You've had a 3 days of practice with them, Coach. 2 things I'll ask is, how do you feel about what you've seen at practice this week with our team, and then what are your first impressions after seeing the Chargers on film?
Well, our guys have done a good job. They Monday was not the greatest. I just didn't feel like we had the focus that we needed, but it actually picked up the more practice went on, and then yesterday was a real good practice, and so today was our helmets only day, and we got a lot of good stuff done out there today. So practices have gone well. It's a huge game. Everybody knows it's a huge game. I think they're the number 1 ranked 3A team in the state, and we just, I guess you kind of feel blessed just to have an opportunity to play a team at that caliber. So we've got to do a good job, and the practices are helping us get there. But of course, like any time you play any game, but especially against a really good opponent, you got to have all your T's crossed and all your I's dotted, and everything's got to be perfect. Yeah. So we've got a ways to go before we get there, but we look forward to the game. It's a great challenge for us.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know how talented they are on the skill position. I know about the quarterback. I know about Green and their running back. and all that. And of course, you can speak to whatever you want to speak to. They stand out, of course. I know. Is that what you see? I mean, what aside from them, because they're going to stand out anyway. If you want to talk to them about them, of course, do. But in watching them and prepping for them, you know, what are your impressions? What's standing out to you?
Well, that's what you just said. Their skill players are as good as any that we've seen, and they remind me a lot of some of my old South Point teams. You know, honestly, it's just a lot of great team speed, dudes that can run, and Six is a heck of a player. We know that. We all know that. But their quarterback is dangerous. You know, he's a guy that you're going to have a hard time getting on the ground, and then he can extend plays, which is, you know, we haven't seen that this year.
Right.
We haven't seen a guy that could do that, and that's what we were. Talk about South Point that I used to coach. That's what we were known for. Our quarterbacks could get away, and you see we won a lot of games, and so they've got that kind of player,
mm-hmm.
and so he can throw the ball and he can throw it. He can make plays, extend plays, make them longer, and then once he gets away a couple of times, then he can make a throw.
Yeah.
And so there's just a lot that we've got to have covered defensively, and we know it's not going to be easy.
What do they run and coach defensively?
Well, you'll know it very well. It's Coach Wilson is their defense coordinator. So I
was going to ask. I didn't know if he had changed a lot.
Yeah. Well, no, it's based on what we see on film. It looks a lot like what the coaches that are here that they say. Yeah. You know, it's kind of the same thing. I mean. But it's you got to kind of pay attention. You got to know where people are, and they're going to play man coverage some, and we've got good receivers. We don't have the speed like they have, so it's a little bit easier for them, and so it's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
To me, I don't know of a better game Friday night in the state, honestly, with two high caliber teams, very good coaching staffs on both sides, big atmosphere, Cleveland County football. It's wild because down the road at Shelby, Burns and Shelby are playing too, so the 4 county teams are all playing Friday night,
right,
playing one another. But I know you know what's at stake. I know it's a big deal. I know the boys will be ready. I'm not too worried about that part. The only thing that I wish is I wish there was some way scheduling. It's tough for it being that last game.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I know you don't mind playing them whenever you play them, but they don't mind playing you. But, man, it's tough right there for the last game because there's a lot on the line. I mean, you're talking.
But, you know, when you really think about it, I mean, that's the way you want it to be. You know, I mean, this is for the conference championship. Mm-hmm. You've got getting ready to go into the playoffs. It's a lot better than having all that stuff already known and taken care of.
True.
You're just trying to finish out the season. It's the way it ought to be. So it really makes for an exciting Friday night and last game of the regular season. So, I kind of like it like that. I've been in this situation when I was an assistant coach at Northwestern. We had to play Rock Hill last game of the year. Mm-hmm. Both of us were undefeated.
Yeah. It's
the same kind of atmosphere, and it's huge. And it's a great night for the kids, and that's what it's all about. It's something they're going to remember for the rest of their lives.
Oh, of course. I mean, and you said it right. I mean, it's an honor to be in these kinds of games and to be thought of. There have been times where the team you're playing is fighting for something and you're really not. I've been in those situations too.
Yeah.
To know that it's there. And here's the thing: you both know you're going to the playoffs, so we know the season's not ending Friday night.
Right.
All we're trying to do is, like you said, one game at a time, accomplish part of our goals Friday, and then see where we shake out for next week. Yeah. Depending on where we're seated, and we'll talk about that next week because we'll know Saturday kind of where we're going. But it's going to be a huge atmosphere. We'll talk more about the times and things in a minute. Going from there, and the Mountaineer man is the Mountaineer man. Is he on IR or is he going?
Yeah, he's IR.
He's on IR. Okay.
And Coach Bridges informed me that he doesn't know quite what he can do for the Mountain Man.
So I heard a vicious rumor that they were flying in a specialist from out of somewhere that was going to put the Mountaineer man back together. Maybe like Humpty Dumpty, so maybe just maybe a miracle will happen before Friday, and he'll be up there on top of the hill. But either way, we'll be good. It'll be good to watch you guys come down.
I can tell you this: don't call me and ask, because I have no clue, and I'm not getting involved with that.
Yeah.
I've got too many other things to worry about.
You don't. That's not on the pregame agenda. Okay.
His name is Matt Bridges. That's the guy to call.
Call
Matt
him.
Bridges.
Complain to him.
No,
don't complain. We're just kidding.
I'll get fired.
We're just
Don't do
kidding.
that.
We're just kidding. So that's great. Huge game. We're going to talk more about the times and tickets and all that stuff in just a moment. We'll take a real quick sponsor break. We come back. We'll do the players of the week and see who were the players of the week for the Ashbrook game. So stay with us. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by HB Jones Appraisals, John Gamble and Carolina Golf, the Kings Mountain Family YMCA, Harris Funeral Home,
We're going to do the players of the week this week. So, Coach, we'll start like we always do. We'll do the Gutter Guys Offensive Player of the Week.
All right, let's do the honorable
mentions.
first.
Yeah, I like how we do
to
this.
do that. Just number one is the OL.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, the guys that stepping in and taking care of the guys that we have that are injured. They did a good job, and they got us a big win. Also, Fat Lanier, Zorion, and we call him Fat.
We call him Fat on the air, so that's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
So he had 6 catches, 44 yards.
He had a big game.
He had a good night. And but we're going to go and then and Josiah Hill. He stepped in and ended up carrying the ball 14 times for 124 yards, which is a 9-yard average, and he had 2 touchdowns. So those are honorable mentions. He could have very well got it. But we're going to go with Camden Zolo this week, our quarterback. He was 16 for 25 and 176 yards. He hit 7 different receivers throughout the night. So
that's good distribution.
Yeah, and we just thought, and Coach Bolton thought that he managed the game really, really well, especially with all the things that were going on.
Yeah.
He did a great job, and that was obviously his best night. So got to go with Zolo.
Good.
Yeah.
So Zolo is our Gutter Guys Offensive Player of the Week. Coach, I'll get it right. Let's do the honorable mentions for the Gutter Guys Defensive Player of the Week, and then the Defensive Player of the Week.
All right, so the honorable mentions, and I'm going to roll through them. There's kind of a lot to it, but Rob Kendrick had a good night, 5 tackles. He had an interception with a 29-yard return, and then he had an Alamo tackle, and that's a tackle that we think is very important for your team. When an Alamo tackle is where a guy's breaking away, possible score, and you don't quit and make that play. And he had one of those, which was huge for us. So Rob Kendrick would be one. C.J. Hauser had a good night, 8 tackles, and he was in with on 3 third-down stops, which is also big for us, and a tackle for loss. And then Jason Melton. That guy's always he seems to always be in the mix, which is great for a linebacker. That's what you want. But he had 10 tackles, a quarterback pressure, and he was involved with 2 third-down stops and a 4th down stop and a tackle for loss. But our defensive player of the week, we're going to go with Thomas Fair. He had 56 production points, which led our team. 9 tackles, a quarterback pressure, a tackle for loss, a caused fumble, and he helped out with 2 4th down stops. So Thomas Fair is the defensive player of the week. Did a great job.
Great. Thomas Fair, defensive player of the week. Gutter Guys player of the week. Okay, Coach. We have honorable mentions on special teams?
Nope, just one.
So we're going to go to the special Gutter Guys special teams player of the week.
Yeah, and this one's kind of hard, but we're going to go with Max Thompson. He was 3 for 3 PATs and had a 21-yard field goal, and the reason why I'm going with him is because we really had changed some responsibilities trying to get ready for something that we knew was coming up, and what we were trying to do was not working.
Right.
And so I had to kind of pull him out of the bullpen and say, hey, you got to do it. And he stepped in and did a great job. What we're finding out is this is coaching, things that you got to learn to do. Our kickers have got to kick off of grass. We kick a lot in the stadium and off of turf, and they do a better job kicking off of turf than they do grass because that's where they practice most of the time. And then on top of that, we go to these stadiums, and whoever we're playing seems to, their lawnmower breaks down or they running out of gas or something. They won't cut the fields, and the grass is about this thick, and so it's really hard to kick out of that stuff.
Now, you don't think they're leaving it high because you do,
No,
Coach.
it wouldn't be on purpose. I know people better than that. They would not be on purpose. So anyway.
You have better faith than I do, because I'm telling you, I've been on the other side of that. I've known sprinkler heads to break on sidelines.
Yeah.
I've known grass to be left. Not that we've done it. Seriously,
I've heard of a lot of stories, and,
Yeah.
and I've been through things before, but I would never do that. But I have. It's happened to us.
I will tell you, there was a place you played this year, and I'm not going to say where it was, but there was a place you played this year where we played on grass. And as I was coming to the game, and I could see the field, I'm not even going to say what part. I'm not going to tell you if I was up top. I'm not going to tell you if I was in the stands. But I'm going to tell you this: I was looking, and I could not see people's shoes.
Right.
The grass was so high. And
I know which one that was. But they're all doing that, and you know, I never really quite understood that as a coach. I mean, man, if it makes us, if we're supposed to be fast and you're not as fast, and the grass is supposed to slow you down, and that means it's going to slow us down, but it's going to slow you down. I don't get it. But anyway, people do it, but it does affect the kicking game.
Yes, it does.
Max stepped in. He did a good job helping us in that situation.
All right, so Coach, I got a question for you for the Ask the Coach segment before we turn you loose, because I know your wife's waiting on her steak at home.
Yes, sir.
Does your wife watch the show, by the way?
I'm sure she does.
I have not given a shout out to your lovely wife.
Well, she won't. She probably watches it and then don't want to talk about it when I get home.
All right,
she's
well,
probably
if
going,
she's watching,
you know what? Let me tell you what. I'll probably walk through the door and she'd say, you know what? You sound really stupid on TV. That's probably what she would tell me. But go ahead.
Well, you know they are smarter than us.
There's no doubt.
My wife does that to me all the time, Coach. What's been the main focus? And I know this might sound like kind of a crazy question, but what I was thinking about is there are so many things going on with this game, and with what's on the line, so to speak. And I know we take one game at a time. But what's been your focus, your main focus with this week's game?
Well, the main focus is all the changes. Every change that we have this week, and there's been several. We've got to get those things fixed and make sure that we get enough reps at them so that we are, as I always say, as near to perfect as we can be. Because that's always my goal. When I coach, I want to be perfect. Whatever we're trying to do, let's be perfect at it. You're never going to be perfect, but if that's what you're striving to do, you're going to get as close as you can. Yeah. And so there are some things that have changed this week, and that's been our focus. Our focus is to make sure that all those little changes that are happening, that are out of our control, but we've got to get them fixed. And there's more than one. So it is what it is. It's part of coaching, and you gotta go with it, and as they say, monitor and adjust and get it fixed. And that's what our focus is this week.
Response has been good.
Been real good. The guys are stepping up. They understand what we're trying to do, and the greatest thing is that when you watch our players, you know, they're really starting to take hold of what we're doing. It's almost like through all the film studies and all the skull sessions on the board and that kind of stuff, I think they're starting to see, like, man,
they do know what they're talking about.
I understand why he's doing it, and there's a bigger picture, and so that's great to see. And you know, we know our guys are going to play hard. We know they are, and we just gotta make sure that mentally they are where they're supposed to be and when they're supposed to be there.
I like it. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun. I don't know. I don't know this. I'm not hiding anything. I don't know what you're wearing Friday night. I don't want you to tell anybody.
I don't know yet.
I love watching when we're doing pregame. Well, we'll see it for senior night. We'll see it a little earlier this week.
Yeah, you will.
Mm-hmm. But one of my favorite things is to watch out the press box when you are coming behind and getting up on the hill and seeing what combination we have, because we've got some nice stuff. So I'll be looking forward to that too. But Coach, rest up. You got a busy couple of days coming up. JV game tomorrow night at Crest. We'll talk about that in a minute with the times, and then of course here Friday night. Good luck. Go get them.
Yes, sir. Thank
and
you.
we'll be back together next week and talk about the first round of the playoffs.
Yes, we
that
will.
feels good too, because
Yeah.
some teams aren't going to be
That's right.
talking about a playoff game
This
next week.
season went by so fast. And
I did.
I would hate to be one of the ones that it's over for, because it would have felt like it lasted a month.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree.
We should feel really blessed that we're going to get another one.
Amen.
Yeah.
Coach,
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
you as always.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks for
see you
having me.
Friday.
Yes, sir.
We'll take a sponsor break. Be back in just a minute.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by HB Jones Appraisals, John Gamble and Carolina Golf, the Kings Mountain Family YMCA, Harris Funeral Home,
Well, let's talk. We've got a few things we're going to cover. We're going to do our week in Kings Mountain Athletics. We're also going to talk about the game info, and then a couple more things as well with some sponsors and with our scouting. So Drew's got a graphic we'll do this week at KM first, and we'll talk about what's going on there. Today, of course, our soccer team, our men's soccer team, is at Crest. They started at 6 o'clock. I hope they're doing well over there, and we'll get a victory over at Crest. Tomorrow, the 26th, volleyball will be at home for the third round, playing Lake Norman Charter, I believe is what I saw. Congratulations to our volleyball team. Hope they win another game tomorrow and get to the fourth round. JV football will be at Crest at 7 p.m. Friday night, October 27th, varsity, of course, is at home at 7:30 versus Crest. It is senior night, so make sure you're here to see the senior festivities. We will broadcast the senior night festivities so you can see them if you're watching the broadcast pregame before you come and sit in the stands and watch it live. On Saturday, the 28th, our cross-country team is at regionals at Freedom. They will be there. I don't know the time, but they'll be there Friday. I'm sure it's Saturday morning. Monday, October 30th, Women's Golf State Championship. Shout out to, Drew, help me with the name. I'm sorry. We had a young lady make the state qualifying, and I'm going to remember it, and I'm sorry I don't. She's there, way to represent, way to do a good job. I remember when she started playing golf at the middle school and came out for the high school team, but when she got up here, she's doing great. Men's soccer will be the first round of the state 3A playoffs. There we go. Kalia Watson. Good job, Kalia. Sorry that I butchered that. Kalia will be there Monday, the 30th, competing in the state 3A playoffs. Men's soccer will be in the first round of the 3A playoffs. And on Tuesday, the 31st, if Kalia makes it, and I'm sure she will because she's had a great season, she will be playing in the state championship again on Tuesday if she does well enough on Monday. And volleyball can be or will be in the fourth round because I know they're going to win in their third round game. Tomorrow, let's talk about ticket information. Is that the next one we're going to go with, Drew? There we go. Drew is so good. Like always, you can purchase your tickets ahead of time on Ticket Spigot. Check the social media link. They will. It opened today, right, Drew? I know it's up now. They've been waiting until the day before game day, but now it's up early because of the big game. So I would encourage you to buy your ticket early because you don't want to have to wait, because I can already tell you Mark Blanton's going to be at the gate at 6 o'clock. He'll be up there front. So hopefully he's bringing cheeseburgers with him this week. Tickets can be purchased at the gate. They open at 6. Game time is at 6:30. We go on the air at 6:30. I'm getting under that in a minute. Boy Scouts of America is collecting food. We'll talk more about that in a minute. I do want to give a quick shout out to 133 West, who is one of our biggest sponsors. They are having $1 smoked wings for pregame Friday night. If you want to go over there and eat before the game and listen to and watch our pregame on their televisions, and then come on over to the game. We also, on Friday, have our Rotary Club for Kings Mountain. It's having their spaghetti dinner at the high school. The first 500 in the games will get rally towels, sponsored by Brittany Austin Hewitt Realty. On Q Financial, Mr. Ben Engel and Stephen Ray at Farm Bureau will be sponsoring those towels, and we thank you for that. As I said, broadcast, it is on YouTube at 6:30. Kickoff is at 7:30, and we will be showing the senior night festivities. And I mentioned it, but let's talk again about the Scouting for Food fundraiser. Excuse me, not fundraiser, food raiser. This is Friday. We've been talking about this for a few weeks at both the Kings Mountain and Crest gates. The Boy Scouts of America, troop number 92, will be collecting food. So this bring non-perishable food items to the ball game. Stationed at both the home and visitors gates, the food collected benefits the needy here in Cleveland County. Scouting for Food, troop 92, hoping to help people in our community. As always, we want to give a shout out and a plug to our Touchdown Club, and make sure you're there and you are with us and you join us. We also want to talk about the game that is this week. Of course, it is huge, and we thank you for your support and being here and being with us. If for some reason you can't get to the game, make sure you're following us on the YouTube channel. You like and subscribe so you can watch it there. And we want to thank you for those of you that are already there and those who will join. Spread the word because we enjoy doing it. We love bringing you the game. Big atmosphere. Get here early. Make sure you come and are ready to cheer and be loud. Lots on the line with a huge county rivalry against Crest. It should be a good night. We know they're a great team. We have a good team too, so it should be a great, great night. We will be on the air early to do some pregame stuff and then let you see the senior night festivities and go from there. So for my man Drew Fulton behind the controls, Jeff Johnson making the highlight video, Coach Herron, and all of Mountaineer Nation, we want to thank you for being here with us tonight. Hope to see you at the game Friday, and let's hope we can get a big win against the Chargers. Have a great rest of your week. Take care and be blessed. Thank you for watching tonight.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by HB Jones Appraisals, John Gamble and Carolina Golf, the Kings Mountain Family YMCA, Harris Funeral Home,